Viewers, welcome back to the monthly sharing of positive news that happens around India. We have been so far calling it as Anew series. There are a lot of suggestions to come up with a better name. We may change the name, but the content and positivity of this entire program will remain the same. And this month, we will start off with the international news. And to start with, after a very long time, and there has been a lot of deliberations on the international between the different countries. A group of 130 nations have cleared a plan to have a minimum tax structure for multinational companies. So we know that there have been a few European countries which have been a parking haven for a lot of these companies which straddle the entire world. Predominantly, they have been the new age companies which depend on data and social media, and they have been using countries like Ireland and Hungary to park their profits and maybe pay much lesser taxes. So this deal has been brokered by OECD, and they are mandating the MNCs to pay at least a minimum of 15% tax. I think this is a good start, very good start, and you're going to see that companies like Amazon and Google and LinkedIn, which have been using these tax loopholes, will be able to come back into the picture and maybe start contributing to the regional countries from where they're generating the revenue. And as expected, Hungary and Ireland are the two countries which have still not come on board, but I think it's only a matter of time. This makes a lot of judicious taxation thinking, and most countries will start benefiting from this exercise. The next major aspect from an Indian perspective has been that the Prime Minister of our country, Mr. Narendra Modi, has announced that the CoWIN, which has been the backbone for our vaccination program, is going to be made as an open source. Now, once again, you are seeing that India is going to leverage a lot of its strengths. The strengths have been predominantly with respect to its ability to create software. We were already successful with Aadhaar using UIDAI. Now, this has been a phenomenal effort by the government of India to use an app-based program to reach out and log in the various people who are vaccinated, thereby allowing them to download the certificates without the intervention of too much of government machinery. So this is another major initiative by the current government. The third major development that has happened on the international affairs is that European Union is planning to rival a Belt and Road initiative that has been going on by China. Now, it's a known fact that China has become the big bully of the world, and many countries, including US and European Union, are beginning to feel threatened by this development. And especially during the post-COVID easing of the whole economy, world economy, we are seeing China is playing a role whereby it is actually bringing down, it's creating some kind of a supply side constraints either at their ports or on the manufacturing side, and therefore the availability of electronics which are so essential in manufacture of cars and so many other items are actually in short supply. And suddenly the world has woken up to a situation where they feel that China is beginning to leverage its strengths and strong foreign exchange resources, and that is going to be detrimental to Europe. Europe and US and even Japan already are beginning to suffer the demographic dividends of not having many young people, and this will also actually kind of hit back at them. So they've all got together and decided to have a counter Belt and Road initiatives on the to counter the Chinese effort. But Luxembourg has actually brought it to the notice of Germany that maybe this is not a very wise idea, because it looks like German cars are sold more in China than Germany itself. But I think on an overall mood in the international affairs, the trend seems to be on creating an alternate supply channel for China, and I think India will be one of the biggest beneficiaries. So these are the three major news on the international side. We are now moving to the national news. And national news, there have been a whole lot of legislation which have been brought in. Most of it have got buried in the news related to COVID. But let me pull out a couple of things which I think is of significance to us. One of the major developments that has happened is the government has cleared the Ordnance Factory Board to be corporatized, right? So the concept is that we have a lot of ordnance factories, close to 41 factories, and this has been split into 7 companies. The objective behind this whole thing has been to increase the productivity and create specializations in weapons manufacturing. World over, we have many times discussed in Anew series, world over the armaments manufacturing companies have been predominantly private, though actively supported by government research and government funding program. But many countries in the Western world have realized that it's the private sector which will be able to bring a lot of efficiency and synergy in manufacturing. So the Ordnance Factory Board is also being necessitated to move in this direction, because even the Indian military is flagging that they need a reliable supplier to maintain their ammunitions for their operational readiness. Because unfortunately for India, we generally had a threat earlier only from the western border, which is Pakistan, and now we have a two-fronted challenge, because China is also becoming a threat, and therefore the operational readiness of our defense is extremely critical, and therefore we need companies which are accountable and efficient to ensure that we are able to scale up the production in case there's a twin challenge from both the sides of the border. So this unfolding of ordnance boards getting corporatized, though many would see it as some kind of selling it away to the private sector, I think in the longer term interest of our country, this is a very critical and important structure which needs to function efficiently. There's also been another very interesting proposition that has been bought by the government. There's a draft rule of recommending that the EVs not be charged for any kind of registration, either it's on the for registration, the first registration, or even on the resale registration. So the idea is to promote alternate energy, and government is seeing that the electric vehicles could be a very efficient way of reducing our oil dependence, number one, and number two, it's always also will be able to reduce the cost of transportation, which India already suffers because of certain infrastructural challenges which we have been carrying in for many years now. The third major development, I think one of the big blockbuster developments which has really gone unnoticed, is Union Cabinet has approved Deep Ocean Mission. Now this has been a long pending exercise, and I think it's been on in the boards since 2008, but the work really started off in 2018. The cost is going to be around 4,077 crores spent over a period of 5 years. That it's going to have 3 to 4 phases, but cutting the long story short, it basically involves sending a submersible vehicle to the floor of the ocean, which will go as deep as 6,000 meters or almost 6 kilometers into the ocean. And India will be one of the very few handful countries which will be able to undertake an underwater mission at such depths. So the whole objective of this exercise is to hunt the ocean floor, that's the Indian Ocean floor, for our precious metal. So we have, the Central Institute of Ocean Basin, which is basically an organization which has been an offshoot of United Nations International Seabed Authority. They have approved India to have a large area of, around 75,000 square kilometers in Indian Ocean, where we can go and explore for polymetallic nodules. Now, what are polymetallic nodules? These are basically rocks which are scattered all over the ocean floor, and they have very high content of iron, manganese, nickel and cobalt. Now, even if India is able to mine a fraction of the 380 million metric tons of polymetallic nodules that are available on the seabed, we will be able to meet our needs for the next 100 years. And that's a very big development which has really not been looked up. Now it becomes very essential because we are also seeing the Indian Ocean being an area of, could potentially become an area of fight between the developing and the developed countries, because there's so much of minerals that are lying on the seabed. Now the total the area that is available for India's under the India's exclusive economic zone is around 2.2 million square kilometers. So you can just see the amount of economic activity and economic possibilities and self-reliance with respect to metals, and that could really make India a very prosperous nation. So this is a very major initiative, and if this really plays out very well, I think India will be continue to be in the forefront of the mines and minerals map of India. The other major development that has also happened, which has been fortunately well publicized, is under the FAME 2 subsidy, the amount of subsidy available for 2-wheeler two-wheelers has been increased to up to 50%, which means now two-wheelers which are EV two-wheelers will be able to get a subsidy of up to rupees 15,000. So we are already seeing that there are a lot of players in the two-wheeler EV market. So we have Ather, we have Bajaj, we have Hero, we have Ola, we have Revolt, we have TVS, and a whole lot of people and many more people who are manufacturing EV scooters and motorcycles. And now with this subsidy being available, the electric two-wheelers will be available at sub 70,000 category, which means the affordability with the capital cost of people procuring these two-wheelers will substantially come down and will make it affordable for people. And with today's cost of fossil fuels being at close to 100 rupees per litre, this will be a very viable alternative to all the middle class Indians, and they will also benefit from the saving. We will also be benefited from the the pollution, that there will be so much more less pollution both with respect to air quality and noise pollution. So viewers, please stay tuned for the next episode, which will also be a continuation of what we are going. We will come back with a lot more positive news that's happening around our country. Thank you and stay tuned.